Hey guys, Scott here. Welcome back to Check Your Leader TV. Things have been a bit quiet of late. I've been overseas. I went to the United States for HISTORICON, and also I took the opportunity to visit Gettysburg again. It's my fifth time there now. I was able to catch up with Steve from Basement 1908. Steve came on the second day of HISTORICON. We shared some accommodation at the luxurious Red Carpet Inn at Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And after 3 days at Historicon, we then went over to Gettysburg for a couple of days, had a look around there. I then proceeded up to upstate New York. Went to Ontario to visit an uncle of mine that I'd never met. Used the opportunity also to go and visit the mother and brother of my former operations officer, and with Arno's brother, we then went to the Canadian Tank Museum, where they had their open day, and I got to meet some interesting people there as well. Generally speaking, the whole trip was fantastic, and I got to meet a whole bunch of let's call them wargaming or history celebrities, which was a real treat. So what I'll do now is I've got a series of still photos and little video clips that I took over the period, the 2 weeks that I was in the United States and Canada, and then I'll just share them with you now, share my thoughts on Historicon, and we'll just take it from there. So I departed Australia on the 13th of July. I was fortunate enough to go business class, which was pretty sweet. Flew in to JFK, arrived there on the 14th of July, and then headed across to Lancaster. It was about a 3.5 hour drive. I saw a place called Molly Pitcher. It was like a roadside rest station. Couldn't help myself, had to have a photo taken of that place. From there, I continued on to Lancaster. I stayed at the Red Carpet Inn. This is obviously not the Red Carpet Inn. This is the Marriott. I believe it's the Marriott at Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That was the convention center where Historicon was. The next day I was there, I decided I would go and have a look at the United States Army Heritage and Education Center. Essentially, on the Wednesday, on the 15th, I didn't really have much to do during the day, and my first game wasn't until in the evening. So I thought I'll head over to Carlisle and go to the United States Army Heritage and Education Center, because I understand there's a museum there. And the other thing was, this year is the 250th anniversary of the United States Army, so I thought I'd check it out. Turned out to be a great little museum to visit. There's a heritage trail there as well, where you can see various displays, armored fighting vehicles. There's a Cobra attack helicopter there, artillery pieces, etc. So you wander around the heritage trail. You can then go into the museum, or vice versa, whichever way you want to do it. And if you are ever near Carlisle in Pennsylvania, I would highly recommend you go check out this museum. It really is worth the effort. It took me about 2 hours to get through the whole place. And the staff there are fantastic as well, predominantly all veterans. And I spoke initially to a retired United States Army colonel, and it was nice chatting to him. I also spoke to some of the other veterans on the outside of the museum, around the Heritage Trail. Then I decided, well, I'm halfway to Gettysburg, so I think I might go do a bit of a recce. So I drove down to Gettysburg because the plan was to go there with Steve on the following Sunday and Monday. So I thought I'd go there and have a look at the place. And one of the most bizarre things happened while I was there. I'd gone to the visitor center. I then went down to the Gettysburg Emporium for no other reason that my wife loves that shop. So I thought I'd go check it out, see if there was anything I might grab for her there. And then I thought I'd walk down to the Gettysburg Toy Soldier shop. And on the way to the shop, I bumped into Dave Brown and his son Christopher. Dave is the author of General d'Armée 1 and 2, Pickett's Charge, O Group, and other great rules. So, it was just bizarre because I had no intention of going to Gettysburg on that day. So there was no real reason for being there. It was just purely on a spur of the moment type thing. So I went there, and sure enough, I bumped into Dave and Chris. And so we then went across to a pub called O'Rourke's, had a few drinks there. Obviously, I was driving, so just some soft drinks. And then we made arrangements to catch up later on during the week at HISTORICON. So returning back to Lancaster from HISTORICON, I then headed over to the convention centre and got there at about 5 o'clock. My first game was at 6 p.m. and it was a World War I naval game. Actions between the German and British battle cruisers and some battleships. And we used the rule called fighting battleships, which is essentially a stripped down tabletop version of the old Avalon Hill Jutland. And what a fantastic game it was. And the fella that was putting on the game, I'm trying to think of the chap's name now, Kim Young. He put on the game, and it was really good. And it's also possible to get. He offered a copy of the rules and all the playing aids free. All I had to do was email him, and then he'd send the rules and all the appropriate gaming aids. So if anybody wants a copy of these fighting battleship rules, just make a comment, and I'll put my email address in the comment section, in the description, of this video, and you can send me your email address, and I'll try to get a copy of the rules to you. So that was the Wednesday taken care of. On Tuesday, I then played an American War of Independence game. It was listed as being a 15mm game. It was played using a set of rules that the game host had pretty much put together himself. It was a combination of loose files and American Scramble and Live Free or Die, but the miniatures we used were not I wouldn't call them 15mm. They were 15mm high, but they were I think they're called Wofun. They're like flats, but they're perspex with just a printed image of the miniatures wedged in between two perspex sheets and then put on a base. Great miniatures, I guess, if you want to put an army together at short notice, really, really quickly. But I didn't find them particularly inspiring. But the game itself was a lot of fun. We played that. That was just me and a couple other guys on the Thursday morning. And so that was a great game, played in a great spirit. And then I proceeded to have a look around HISTORICON and look at some of the other games that were on. I'll just briefly touch on some of the other games I played. We played a large 28mm American War of Independence game. Miniatures are nice. Terrain was okay. For the most part, it was played in the right spirit. Some of the people that we played against, seemed more interested in just winning the game rather than just enjoying the atmosphere and participating in it. And the scenario itself was a bit. I mean, it's virtually. There's no way I looked at it. There's no way I could see that the British players could win that particular scenario. But props to the guy who put the game on, because organising these games for participation or demonstration games is a huge effort for the individuals that are putting these games together. And so, as a general rule, I won't criticise because it does take a lot of effort. But I would offer that the one bit of advice that if you're going to put on a participation game at a convention, you thoroughly play test the scenario beforehand to create a situation where participants on both sides feel like that they've at least got a chance to win. So that's all I've got to say about that. The other game I played in, I played in a game of What a Tanker, and that was really good. That was probably the best game that I played there. It was very, very well organised. Everyone was kept engaged right from the get-go, and that was a lot of fun. And Steve from Basement 1908, Steve was able to join in, even though initially he didn't have a ticket for the game. They did make space for him and a couple other people, actually. And it was just a really, really good, fun game. So Historicon, apparently it was one of the largest Historicons they ever had. My observations, the only other time I've been to Historicon was in 2016. And all I would say is there seem to be less vendors, traders at it in attendance. But I could be wrong about that. It just seemed like that there was less there. And the games that were the participation in the demo games that were on, the quality of the games, they really did vary. Some were absolutely amazing, and some looked pretty ordinary. And I guess I'm used to the conventions here in Australia. Obviously, they're much smaller. But the quality of the games that are put on, the demo and participation games that are at Australian conventions, they're all of pretty high standard. Very nicely painted miniatures, very nice terrain. Whereas I found at Historicon, it really was the disparity from one game to the next in the quality of the miniatures, the quality of the terrain. It could vary considerably. So that's all I'll say about Historicon. Had a great time. Steve was a fantastic guy to go to a convention with. And then after Historicon, we headed off to Gettysburg. And then we spent 2 days walking around Gettysburg, 2 and a bit, I think, truth be told. I'll put a link to a video that Steve made in relation to the 2 days that we spent at Gettysburg. There's no point in me repeating what he's already said. And so I thoroughly recommend you check out Steve's video. There's a couple, actually. One where we just talked briefly about the experience of Historicon and Gettysburg. And there's another one where he actually it's about 2 hours long. We ended up walking 20 miles over the 2 days, visiting all the different parts of the battlefield. Okay, now once that was done, I then took Steve to the airport on the Tuesday, dropped him off, and then I headed up to Canada. Oh, I should mention one other thing. Apart from bumping into Dave Brown and Chris, I also managed to bump into Richard Borg, who's the author of Command and Colours, Napoleonics, as well as the whole Command and Colours range, Battle Cry. He's designed a lot of games, actually. Because I was playing in a Command and Colours tabletop game using 15mm miniatures again. This time they were actually 15mm miniatures. And it was a very, very large game. that in itself was, that was a great game. Really, really good. Not unsurprising. Basically, they took a well play-tested scenario from the Command and Colors Epic, or is it Marshals and Tacticians supplement, and we played that game. And I noticed one gentleman at the end of the table who's simply commenting on things, and it turned out it was Richard Borg. And so I sat down and had a bit of a chat with him for a while. Really nice chap, and had a lot to say about Command and Colors, the system, and shedded a light on a few things in regards to the rules. So that was great. And then, obviously, for me, the highlight, apart from catching up with Steve, was catching up with Dave Brown and Christopher Brown. And real nice chaps they are too. And we also caught up with a couple of the lads, or actually one of the guys from Little Wars TV. I think it's Nigel. I think that's his name. Again, really nice chap. So all in all, Historicon really was great fun. And then I went up to Canada. So I went to the Tank Museum at Oshawa, I think that's how it's pronounced, and had a look around the Tank Museum there. Some really nice static displays within the museum itself, some nice weapons displays. There was plenty of, obviously, tanks and artillery pieces and gun tractors, all sorts of really cool stuff to look at. And whilst there, I managed to bump into the Chieftain. Now, I'm sure a lot of you would know who the Chieftain is. Essentially, he has his own YouTube channel where he talks about all things tanks. So I managed to bump into him. Literally, I was just watching a Chieftain tank trundling around in an unusual camouflage pattern. Someone nearby me asked, what kind of pattern is that? And I explained, oh, that's from the Berlin Brigade. It's a pattern they use for tanks fighting in urban warfare. Whereupon the Chieftain, I heard this voice say, oh, is that an Australian accent? And anyway, and sure enough, that's who was there. I literally turned around and went, oh, you're the Chieftain. And so we had a bit of a chat. He also introduced me to the Tank Whisperer. This young lady, I think she works at the Cairns Armour and Artillery Museum up in North Queensland, but she was over in Canada for this tank museum long weekend. So we had a chat together. There goes the Chieftain right now, what I'm talking about, with the Berlin Brigade cam pattern on it. And essentially, we had a chat about all sorts of things. It was a really interesting couple of people to have a chat with, and that was great. And that pretty much wrapped up my time in North America, Canada, at the museum there. Obviously, there was a few other things I did. I caught up with my uncle. I went to a couple of sites in upstate New York that have some personal significance for me. And then I came home. But all in all, it was a great trip. The 2 days trundling around Gettysburg with Steve was fantastic. Historicon was really, really good. But really for me, it was about the people that I interacted with. Steve, Dave and Christopher Brown, and obviously the other people that I've already alluded to and mentioned. So it was a great time. If you get an opportunity to go to Historicon, I highly recommend you do. If you have an opportunity to go to Gettysburg, I highly recommend you do that. there are fantastic battlefields to explore in the United States, particularly in Pennsylvania, i.e. Gettysburg, and in Maryland, places like Antietam, Manassas, Chancellorsville, Gaines Mills. They're all great battlefields. Fredericksburg. I highly recommend if you get an opportunity to have a look at these battlefields, do so. And a couple of real eye-openers, some pleasant surprises. The United States Army Heritage and Education Center and the Canadian Tank Museum.
On the west side of Cemetery Hill, the Union 45mm cannon. The number was bigger at one point in the war than beyond the usual 51 or 70mm, which they have been joking 134 units made over the course of the war. And while in 1942 it was introduced and was a fairly effective medium tank at the time, over the war it gradually became much more outclassed by the ever-evolving German armor, such as the Panther and Tiger tanks that were more capable of taking it out. That being said, it was such a highly reliable and easily replaceable machine that it made its downsides in terms of armor thickness well worth keeping it in the fight. In the front hull, and that big mod uses on top the Browning 50 caliber machine gun. There's a bit of a historical myth that it is actually upon or even illegal to use the 50 caliber machine gun against ground targets. That is actually not true, and it is highly effective in a ground roll vehicle, clean through trees, cinder block walls, and even lightly armored vehicles. You see here to the front, they also could be armed with the likes of even 50 caliber machine guns, mortars, even flamethrowers. And for such an unseeming and unimportant vehicle, they can actually pose quite a threat.
So that's the my little overview of my trip to North America, HISTORICON, Gettysburg, the Canadian Tank Museum, etc. Oh, and of course the United States Army Heritage and Education Center. If you've got any comments, just drop them in below. If you've got any questions, again, put them in the comments section. Going forward, hopefully we'll be back to our usual programming, some after action reports of various war games. Keen to play some Midgard, some Pickett's Charge, some more General d'Armée version 2, some more O Group. Also, when I was with Dave Brown and Christopher, we talked a lot about his new upcoming Ancients rules set called Vexillarius, and I've got the latest draft copy of those rules. I have been play testing them, and Dave's basically given me the go ahead to play a bit of play a game of Vexillarius and share it with you guys here. So I'll endeavour to do that also. And so that's it from now. I'm still a bit jet lagged. It was a pretty jam-packed 2 weeks. I just never seemed to stop. It was always go, go, go. And I'm feeling a little bit tired. But having travelled business class over and back, I'm not as anywhere near as weary as I thought I would be. So we'll just wrap it up there. Usual things: like, share, and subscribe. There'll be links in the description below to the videos. There's 2 or 3 videos that Steve put together from his time at HISTORICON and Gettysburg, and they're worth looking at also, obviously. So we'll just wrap it up there. Bye for now.